Hi, my name is Tegan Hall, and I'm going to be giving the 2AC. To start off, the affirmative believes that the United States federal government should adopt gun laws similar to those in Japan. For contention 1, harms, the negative states that Japan has more suicide rates per 100,000 people. However, other studies have found this entirely false. According to World Population Review, total gun deaths by 100,000 in the United States as of 2023 is 14 people, whereas Japan is 0.04 people. Now, the negative states suicide in particularly, so I decided to go into self-inflicted harm. Self-inflicted harm via guns in the United States is also far greater, being calculated to 8.24 people per 100,000, whereas Japan is 0.18. This was as in 2023, so this is recent years, as in 3 years ago. To put in retrospect, there are roughly 345 million people in the United States. Using this data, that would save roughly 48,162 lives in the United States if we had implemented gun laws similar to Japan and saw statistics parallel to theirs. That's 48,162 lives that are lost currently that we could have saved if we had already implemented these laws. Furthermore, the negative talks about how concealed carry rights made murder rates fall by a mere 6%. However, many of the most recent studies have found evidence that adopting a right to carry law is associated with increases in violent crime, including homicides. In all, 16 out of 20 states that adopted concealed carry rights saw a rise in shooting-related homicides. So we say that the negative states that concealed carry rights made murder rates fall by a mere 6% because people are able to protect themselves, but they're able to protect themselves from these guns. We are using guns to defeat guns. Why don't we just remove guns altogether, and then we won't have an issue at all? Further, next, for inherencies, as my partner had said in the Prime Minister Constructive, Japan's gun laws do not make it impossible to own a gun. We are not infringing on constitutional rights. We are simply making it more reasonable for an individual to own such a deadly and powerful weapon. Similar to how there are workarounds to the Fourth Amendment, like getting a search warrant to keep our country safer and criminals off the streets. These regulations are one of the same. Would you want someone who has intent to induce harm owning a gun, whether to themselves or a child? The best way to ensure this happens and prevent such easy access is via background checks. It is not the gun that is committing these violent acts, but the person pulling the trigger. We do not aim to take away guns, but we aim to take away those who are not fit to own them. And that is by implementing similar gun laws that Japan has, whether it's background checks or lessons or checking to see why are people owning these guns. Is it for hunting or is it for killing? Next, to move on to the plan, as the negative and the affirmative have both stated, yes, there are an excess amount of guns, but there are also law-abiding citizens or those in need of money who would be more than willing to properly return their guns for an exchange monetary reward. We are seeing poverty everywhere. I am more than sure that people would be willing to turn in these guns in exchange for money. And for those that aren't going to be willing to turn in their guns, that is what we have the Fourth Amendment for. Yes, it is going against it's not for unreasonable search and seizure. We can get warrants, as I had earlier said. There are additions to these amendments. Okay, next, for solvency. Again, nobody is taking away the Second Amendment right. There are also differences in Japan from Canada and Australia, yet they were more than capable in adopting similar gun rights. These differences are just excuses because people do not want to put forth the effort to make our country safer. But at the end of the day, the affirmative strongly believes that this effort is worth every 48,162 lives that would be saved, including people's kids and victims of school shootings, even those affected from a loved one dying via gun violence, and so on and so forth. There is a big chain and wave reaction of those that are affected firsthand from gun deaths. As for the Prime Minister in Japan, we are also having people at public speaking events dying in the United States with no changes occurring. Most recently, we had Charlie Kirk die at a public event. Whether or not one agreed with what he was saying, that was a life lost from gun violence without the excess effort of making a handmade gun. We are readily giving people these devices to go ahead and kill people in public events. Finally, limiting guns on the streets will also take away people's fear from guns, like the officer and the people in the negatives example. The people yelled gun in fear and ran, and that caused the officer to have an immediate reaction of killing somebody and taking away somebody's life. Furthermore, if we would take away that concealed carry right from that individual, their life would still be here. If officers are more knowing that people have gone through these background checks and they are more entitled to owning that gun, we would all feel much safer around people rather than just anybody having the right to own a gun. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I would just like to finally paint a picture on how Japan's gun laws can create such a safer environment for people in the United States. With 48,162 lives being lost yearly from us not already implementing these laws, we can have less mass shootings and more lives saved, and overall a safer environment for all. Thank you guys.